There we go. About the architecture behind Azure Active Directory, I'm also going to then base most of my presentation on the common questions I get about Azure Active Directory to see if I can answer your question, because Azure Active Directory is not like your on-prem Active Directory. There's not a lot that you can do as an admin with it. So let's just dive straight into it. The architecture overview at a high level, Azure AD is a high availability, geo-redundant, multi-tenant, multi-tiered cloud service that has delivered 99.99% uptime for over a year now. So it's much better than Office 365. Microsoft run it across 27 data centers around the world. Azure AD has a stateless gateways, which is front-end servers, application servers, and sync servers in all of those data centers. Azure AD also has a distributed data tier that is the heart of Microsoft's high availability strategy. The data tier holds more than 500 million objects and is running across 13 data centers. So we're going to look at the Azure AD architecture overview, which is to see the typical way to build a scalable data-rich system is through independent building blocks or scale units, as Microsoft used to call it. For the Azure AD data tier, this unit is called a partition. The data tier has several front-end servers which provides read and write capability. So the diagram shows the component of single directory partition located in a geographically dispersed data centers. Let me just see if... Yep. So what we see here is the active primary. The active primary consists of a single cluster write replica per partition, and all writes for this partition will be routed to this primary. When data is written, it's generally made multi-data center redundant by replicating immediately to at least one other data center. So that means we have a passive secondary replica, passive primary. The passive primary has the same topology as the active primary, and writes are replicated from the active primary. At any time, the passive primary can assume the role of active primary. We also have something called secondary replicas, which is placed in many data centers around the world, and all directory reads are served from the secondary replicas, which are physically located in different geographies. There are many of these replicas and data. How should I say it? Many of these replicas and data is replicated to these replicas asynchronously. Directory reads such as authentication requests are serviced from data centers that are close to the customer. The secondary replicas provide for read scalability. The other thing is we have something called continuous availability. Azure AD is highly available for authentication and directory lookups, largely as a function of the architecture that I just described. The key to this is operation across multiple geographically dispersed data centers which have independent decorrelated failure modes. The partition design is simplified, which it must be because it's critical for large-scale systems. And it's simplified by adopting a single master system with a careful orchestrator and deterministic failover process. Let me see if I got some questions or no. Each partition of the directory, there is a highly available master replica, which is the active primary. All writes are performed at the active primary cluster. It is highly available in the sense that loss of a single server does not impact the availability of the active primary. If we need, we can fail over in less than 5 minutes per partition to the passive primary cluster in a different data center. Failover can also be accomplished on a per partition basis. In planned failover cases, the passive primary is made up to date with the active primary before promoted to be active. So let's say, for example, Microsoft want to do an update, and they can plan it and make sure your passive is up to date and then fail over to the passive, so to say, and you will not be affected. A write is durably committed to at least 2 data centers prior to being acknowledged. This is performed by first committing the write on the active primary and then immediately replicating the write to a replica in at least one other data center. This ensures that the loss of a data center does not result in loss of data. An exception to this rule is for writes that are replayable, such as when synchronized from another system, in which case durability is achieved in failover cases by replaying the writes. Microsoft has something called recovery time objective, which is basically means that Microsoft maintain 0 RTO, which is recovery time objective, for token issuance and directory reads, and in the order of minutes, which is about 5 minutes, RTO for directory writes. And also Microsoft maintains 0 recovery point objective and will not lose data on failovers. So today's Azure, and you're going to hear this a lot. I'm saying today's Azure Active Directory because Azure Active Directory is, it gets new features and they develop on it on an everyday basis. So things might change in the future. I double checked everything last night. So what I'm telling you here is actually okay for today, but I don't know what's going to happen in a month or two. So Azure AD today operates across data centers with the following characteristics. For reads, as I said, the directory has a secondary replica and corresponding front-end services in an active configuration operating in multiple data centers. In case of a failure of the entire data center, the data center is taken out of rotation automatically. Our authentication and graph services are in front of a gateway service. The gateway does load balancing of these services and fails over automatically when unhealthy servers are detected using transactional health probes. Based on these health probes, the gateway will dynamically route traffic to healthier data centers. For writes, the directory can fail over primary, which is master, replicas across data centers via planned or emergency failover procedures. Data durability is achieved by durable commit to at least 2 data centers. Sorry. Some words on scalability, latency, and consistency. Scalability. The directory is partitioned for write scalability. Each partition has many read-only replicas, which is called secondary replicas, and directory application target secondary replicas, and the writes are transparently redirected to the active primary replica to provide read-write consistency. Secondary replicas significantly extend the scale out of a partition as directories are mostly serving reads. Reduced latency. Directory clients connect to their nearest replicas, which improves performance. Since a directory partition can have many secondary replicas can be placed closer to the directory clients. Only internal directory services components that are write intensive target the active primary replica directly. Data consistency. The directory model is one of eventual consistency. One typical problem with the distributed asynchronously replicating system is that the data returned from a particular replica may not be up to date. So in that case, it works like your on-prem AD. So read-write consistency for an application targeting a secondary replica is provided by routing its writes to the primary replica and synchronously pulling those writes back to the secondary replica. Application writers using the Graph API of Azure AD are abstracted away from maintaining affinity to a directory replica for read-write consistency. The Azure AD Graph service maintains a logical session which has affinity to secondary replica used for reads. Affinity is captured in a replica token that the graph service caches using a distributed cache and is used for subsequent operations in the same logical session, and writes directed to the primary replicas are immediately pulled back to the secondary replica to which the logical session's reads are issued. Protection from accidental deletions and corruptions. The directory today implements soft deletes versus hard deletes for users and tenants for ease of recovery. If an admin of a tenant accidentally deletes users, they can undo and restore deleted users. Microsoft take daily backups of the data and can authoritatively restore the data in case of any logical corruptions. Our database tier employs error correcting code so that it can check for errors and automatically correct some types of disk errors. The other thing, measure and respond. Running a high availability service require, honestly, world-class measurement and monitoring capabilities. Microsoft continually measure, analyze, and report on key service health metrics and success criteria for each of the Azure Active Directory services. Microsoft develop and tune monitoring and metrics for each scenario both within each Azure AD service and across services that allows us to be sure it is working and if it's not working, and in order to take rapid action to recover. The most important metric that Microsoft is tracking is how quickly they can detect and mitigate a customer or live site issue. Microsoft have heavily invested in monitoring and alert to minimize time to detect, TTD, is less than 5 minutes, and operational readiness to minimize time to mitigate, TTM, which is target less than 30 minutes. And I also get a lot of questions about secure operation. Azure AD is compliant with ISO 27001 and FISMA standards. Microsoft employ operational control such as two-factor authentication for an operation and they audit all operations. In addition, Microsoft uses a just-in-time evaluation system to grant necessary access for any operation task on demand on a temporary basis, kind of like just-in-time and just enough access processes. So the summary of this slide is this combination of well-planned, year-distributed architecture with extensive monitoring and automated rerouting, failover, and recovery enables Microsoft to deliver the enterprise-level availability and performance to customer in more than 50 countries all around the world. So it's pretty impressive, actually. Azure AD is a web-based internet-scale identity and access management service hosted in Microsoft's Azure Data Center. It combines directory and identity services and governance, application access management, auditing and reporting, as well as multi-factor authentication and password self-service. And new features are added regularly. So what is available today, they might extend it tomorrow. Even though the name is similar, Azure AD is absolutely not an instance of Windows Server Active Directory running on DCs in Azure Data Center. It has some similar aspects. There are users, groups, partitions, content replication. And Azure AD is actually ADLDS, front-ended by web services and APIs. There aren't any AD sites or OUs. There isn't a domain join function for computers either. There is something a bit like a domain join, which is called device registration, which is sort of like a minimal domain join, utilizing Azure ADFS and certificates to associate given user's personal device to use and access corporate data. In the near future, depending on if you are on the technical previews or not, you might have seen this. People will be likely to log on to a PC via an Azure AD account, basically similar to logging on to Windows 8 PC via MSN account. Well, it was really hard doing this session because there's some things that are NDA and some things are not. And if you are on the preview beta, you know a lot of stuff is coming, and the feature set is rapidly expanding. There are 3 tiers of Azure Active Directory with different feature sets and different scale and cost variations. So just some short things about the free edition. You can manage user accounts, synchronize with on-premises directories, get single sign-on across Azure, Office 365, and thousands of SaaS applications. For example, Salesforce, Workday, DocuSign, Google Apps, Box, ServiceNow, Dropbox, and so on. With the basic, it provides application access and self-service identity management requirements for task workers with cloud-first needs. With the basic edition of Azure AD, you get all the capabilities that Azure AD Free has to offer, plus group-based access management, self-service, password reset for cloud applications, Azure AD Application Proxy, which is you can publish on-prem web applications using Azure Active Directory. You get customizable environment for launching enterprise and consumer cloud application, and an enterprise level SLA, which is 99.9 uptime. With the premium edition of Azure Active Directory, you get all the capabilities of the former two, the free and the basic, plus additional features, feature-rich enterprise level identity management capabilities, like you get Azure AD Access Control is free, and some of the recently published ones are bidirectional synchronization via Azure Active Directory Connect. You get administrative units, which is a new Azure AD container of resources that can be used for delegating admin permissions over a subset of users and applying policies to a subset of users. Think of it as a OU Lite thing. It's a container. You get the Cloud App Discovery, which easily determine which cloud apps are in use in your organization. You can add your own SaaS applications to Azure Active Directory Premium. You can add security questions for self-service password resets. You also get Azure Active Directory Connect Health, which is monitoring the health of your on-premise AD infrastructure and get users analytics. And in the notes section of this slide, I have a link to where I got the slide from, or the information for the slide, which is updated regularly. So look at the note sections later in the presentation. So let's look at the common questions, and which I actually these slides are kind of like a Q&A. Oh, Lasse, do you know how to turn off the entry and exit announcements? I didn't see that questions until now.
Working on it.
Okay, thank you. So these are the most common questions I get. There are a lot of them. First of all, is AD LDAP compliant? And how do we interact with Azure AD programmatically? And it should be Azure AD LDAP compliant. I will take a note and change the slide. So there are several interfaces exposed for Azure AD, but Azure AD do not support LDAP externally today. Internally, it is LDAP, as you see on the figure between the DSAPI and the directory store. To query read-write to Azure AD, we can use PowerShell and to leverage the REST-based Graph API interfaces. REST stands for Representational State Transfer and is a type of web standard that enables web apps to interact with other web apps. The Graph API specifically is a way to interact with the contents of Azure AD via get, put, post, etc. I also have a link to all the details about the graph as well. And the graph refers for the ID that the data in Azure AD is structured and can be logically, predictably accessed. It's organized and not just a random collection of stuff. So if you want to see a question in LDAP style compared to a question in graph. It's on the screen now, so you can see a normal question. We ask for a person, user, and CN Santa Claus. In graph we do get HTTPS, graph windows.net, contoso.com, for example. Users filter display name equals Santa Claus API version 213.04.05. I wouldn't say it's an easy way of doing it. I haven't mastered graph myself yet. I'm working on it. But there's an example, and I have links in the note section of the PowerPoint. Other common question: can I use GPOs? Can I have an Azure AD replica on-prem? Can I deploy a replica of my on-prem AD to Azure? So let's start by answering the question of group policies. As mentioned before, AAD isn't Windows Server Active Directory. There is no group policy functionality in Azure AD today. However, Microsoft Intune is a cloud-based mobile device management service in Azure that allows some similar control of users, devices, and settings, and opens up the functionality to cross-platform devices. Some examples of this are smartphone management, forcing a PIN, device encryption, remote wipe of corporate data, etc. Intune readily integrates right into SCCM to provide for both on-prem and cloud-based device management. Can I deploy an instance or replica of Azure AD in my on-prem data center? I'm sorry to say there isn't a way to replicate your Azure Active Directory into an on-prem instance. One of the values of Azure is that Microsoft manages the infrastructure services of Azure, and all you need to manage is your content. Additionally, recall that you are able to synchronize some of your on-prem AD content into Azure AD. I said some because we only sync users, groups, and contacts. We don't sync GPOs, DNS records, and AAD sites. Can I deploy an instance replica of my on-prem AD into Azure? No and yes. You cannot create an instance of your on-prem AD in Azure Active Directory outside of the directory creation and sync processes, which this figure 1, shows. You can, however, create a host or host VM in Azure Virtual Machine service that is connected to your on-prem network and running as a replica for your on-prem AD. This is similar to branch office or DR scenario, but the branch office in this case is Azure, which you can see in figure 2. You can also run Azure VMs to set up dev test islands, I call them islands, of AD without any connection awareness of your on-prem AD, which is figure 3. So in the third figure here, we actually only have an RDP connection to a sandbox environment in Azure. Is Azure Active Directory content replicated across international borders? Another question that I also get is about privacy laws and country region specific restrictions and where can data reside. In Azure AD, the content, or actually the data, is replicated for fault tolerance and built-in recovery. But the data replication is restricted to from in certain regions. The figure on the screen shows the current UI for creating an Azure AD. Notice you specify the country region, and the maps are from September 2014, and the information as well. I couldn't find any newer information. I also have a link in the notes section directly to the page where I got this information, so you can go there and see if it's updates, and that's the page they will update anyhow. So they divided it into geo and region. Previously they called it a major region and a sub-region. So United States, for example, has the East US, East US 2, Central US, West US, North and South Central US. And more importantly to us, Europe, we have North Europe, which is Ireland, and West Europe, which is the Netherlands. And that's what that was available in September 2014, and this will get updated, of course. Other common questions: are there parent-child relationships? Not really. Azure AD is flat. There isn't the same type of relational hierarchy as an on-prem AD. Each Azure AD directory you create is a distinct entity, but an Azure AD directory can have multiple Internet DNS namespaces configured once you prove that they are owned by your company, for example, knowledgefactory.se. These are called custom domains in Azure AD. Be aware though, there is a potential issue related to on-prem parent-child domains and the order you set them up for Azure AD integration. You need to see this KB and think through the order you choose to link your on-prem domains to Azure AD for the most flexibility. You might need to consider setting up the child domains first it gives you more flexibility and so on. And all the details are in the KB article. How do I manage AD? The equivalent of Active Directory User Secured and Computer for Azure AD is the Active Directory section of the Azure Web Portal. The web portal has features added, improved, and updated at least on a monthly basis. And you can perform Azure AD administration from nearly any web-enabled device. There is a rich Azure AD PowerShell module, which is yet another reason to start learning PowerShell. And you don't need to be a guru or expert, you just need to be functional. Then we have the Graph APIs. The Intune and Office 365 portals can also be used to manage certain aspects of Azure AD. And of course, if you have synchronization set up from on-prem to Azure AD, you will do most of the management activities on your on-prem with your normal tools like Active Directory User and Computers. You have to understand that the default interval for directory synchronization is every 3 hours, and the password hash sync is every 2 minutes. I know there is a PowerShell script from Microsoft that you can run that immediately sync all your on-prem to Azure Active Directory. Do not use it. It's only written to be done once when you actually create and you do your first sync if you don't want to wait. The reason why it can't sync more often than every 3 hours is that not all the services can handle a load that is more frequent. Do we still use Kerberos, LDAP, NTLM, ADSI and so on? On-prem, of course we do, obviously. But you also have to remember that cloud is a web-centric world, which means it's cross-device, cross-platform, and across the world basically. And interfacing with Azure Active Directory requires that we use a web-centric language. SAML 2.0, WS Federation, OAuth, OpenID, REST Graph, etc. And for details about the supported authentication protocols for Azure AD, I have a link for you, and the Graph APIs also a link for you there. There are too much to go through, and but these are some great links. Lots of information. How important are the choices I make when first setting up a Microsoft Online services such as Azure, Intune, Office 365, etc.? I would say in one word, it's very important. The initial choices you make when setting up an online service are extremely important and can have far-reaching and long-lasting implications. Think about this similarly to the selection of the forest root FQDN for your on-prem AD. As mentioned, you can add public DNS names that your company owns, but you can't change the original entry, which would be your name.onmicrosoft.com after you have set it up. So, like all the major decisions, it's critical to plan and think through your current and possible future cloud decision points before jumping in. I've heard of customers who just wanted to test it out for a bit. So they named it Intune mybusiness.onmicrosoft.com because they want to test it Intune. But when they wanted to add more services to it, Intune My Business didn't really reflect what they had in the cloud, because they had Azure Office 365, Exchange Online, Lync Online, etc. So I really recommend, if you haven't done it before, bring in a resource with experience that can help you plan out your deployment options and document the key decisions, because I'm a firm believer in do it once and do it right. The other part is, do I need to learn Azure AD? Well, that's a really tough question. In some ways, yes, because we work in technology and things are always changing, and that isn't a surprise to anyone. We all have to learn and keep learning every next version of a product that is released, and that would be vNext of any technology from Microsoft, PowerShell, whatever. And I would say that yes, you should absolutely start learning Azure AD. There will be a lot of work, and it will be, at least the guru I talk to, which I see in the mirror every morning, he keeps telling me that on-prem is going to stay on for a very, very long time, but I have to understand and start learning Azure AD today as well. Otherwise, it might not be that easy to keep in front and keep our competitors behind us. Now I would like to talk about some of the features that I like, and these are all released or in preview since mid-December, and there are coming more features on a almost daily basis. And if you are on Windows 10 technical preview, you will also see a lot of new stuff there as well. And so let's just jump straight into it. Password write-back feature for AAD, and this is a premium Azure AD premium feature, which lets you use your Azure AD to improve the security and user experience and reduce the management cost for passwords in your on-prem AD. Basically, this feature detects when one of your users changed their password in Azure AD or has their password reset by an admin, and writes that same password back to your on-premise AD. An example would be if a user forgets the password to your on-premise AD, they can reset the password using the Azure AD password reset service, and then use their new password to sign on to your on-premise AD. This enables you to reduce your help desk cost for users who have forgotten their AD passwords without deploying or managing a password management solution in your local network. So basically, to get started, first make sure that password reset is enabled under the Configure tab in your Azure AD directory. Then download the latest version of the Azure Active Directory sync tool, which I believe is Connect, if it's been released yet. And then select the checkbox for password write-back from within the optional features selections page. Once configuration of Azure AD Sync is complete, then any password that's changed in Azure AD is also changed on your local AD. So it's very easy to set up, and it saves you a lot of time-consuming password reset tasks. Azure AD App Proxy. It's available. This is also Azure Active Directory Premium and Basic feature. The Azure Active Directory Application Proxy allows you to extend access to your on-premise applications to users in the cloud without changing your application, with no changes to your daemon. Just install a lightweight connector anywhere on your network and configure access to the application in your Azure Active Directory. The service stops unauthenticated traffic in the cloud and ensures that only sanitized traffic is sent to your network. This enables you to protect your on-premise applications with the same mechanisms that protect Azure services. giving your users a single sign-on experience and giving you a single easy-to-configure method for enforcing multi-factor authentication and a single source for auditing and security analytics. This release that's now out have added support for Kerberos Constrained Delegation, KCD. Now, once a user has authenticated to Azure AD, Azure AD Application Proxy can automatically authenticate users to your on-premise application. This improves the user experience by enabling users in the cloud to access on-premises application with only a single interactive sign-in to AAD. Maybe this is not. Question-based security gate for password reset. So this capability is the preview of the question-based security gate for password reset. This feature gives you the convenience, security, and cost benefits of the Azure Active Directory self-service password reset service, even for those who don't have easy access to their cell phone or alternative email accounts. To have this started, you just enable a security questions option under the password reset section of your directory's configuration page. There you can configure up to 20 questions that user can choose from when registering a password reset, as well as how many of these questions will be required for reset and registration. So basically, if you don't have your cell phone, you can do password reset based on questions instead. So that's an improvement, I think. What happened? Administrative units, and this is also an Azure AD Premium feature. Administrative units exist to help basically large enterprises delegate administrative permissions across their organization. Do you need to allow a set of people to manage a subset of the users in your company? Is management of IT in your company delegated by region or business units? On-premise, this was accomplished using a rich set of features in AD, including domain and organizational units. Today, with the new admin units in Azure AD, Microsoft has taken the first step in providing the ability to model and delegate administration in the cloud. In this first release, Microsoft is providing a way to model regions and departments of users. For example, let's say Lasse is the company admin for a large enterprise, Contoso, and Contoso made up of two divisions, East Coast and West Coast. If Lasse wants Ståle to manage the West Coast division, he can do this by creating an admin unit that includes only the users in the West Coast division, and then add Ståle to the user account admin role, which is scoped to the West Coast admin unit. This scoped role assignment means Ståle will be able to assign licenses, reset passwords, and update profile information only for users who are member of the West Coast admin unit. So if you're familiar with the role-based access control RBAC, you can think of admin units as custom resource scopes that can be defined to represent the admin boundaries of your organization and then applied during role assignments. Conditional access. You can specify application-specific multi-factor authentication policies for all of the federated SaaS applications that work with Azure AD, including Workday, Salesforce, Concur, Google Apps for Work, and you name it, there are thousands of them. And you can limit the multi-factor authentication requirement to specific security-sensitive applications. So policies can apply to all users, specific users, or to specific security groups. You can allow users coming from a trusted network to skip MFA based on a list of trusted IP ranges. Conditional access rules work with Azure AD MFA. They will also work on-premise if you have deployed ADFS 2012 R2 and set it up with an MFA adapter. AD will perform the conditional access check and then direct the MFA request to ADFS. Under the Active Directory section, select on the Azure portal. Under the AD section, select your directory and then select the Applications tab. Next, select the federated applications such as Salesforce, for example. And you can configure application to be federated by choosing the Windows Azure AD single sign-on option when configuring SSO. So the screen shows you how to do this when configuring SSO for Salesforce. So Windows Azure AD single sign-on, password single sign-on, and existing single sign-on as the different ways of doing it. So let's look more at conditional access. By default, all users will be required to perform MFA when accessing Salesforce, as the example said. Alternatively, you can choose the groups option and select one or more security groups whose members will be required to perform MFA when accessing Salesforce. In this case, the access rule will only apply to users within the specified group marketing team. All others with permissions to use this application will not have to perform MFA. You can also use group to apply exceptions. You can require MFA for everyone and check the except checkbox to list exempt groups, which may include, for example, people who do not have a cellular coverage and are by that can't do a multi-factor authentication challenge. Next step is select which rule to apply. We have require multi-factor authentication, require multi-factor authentication when not at work, and you can configure the second option which will exempt users coming from a trusted network by following the click here to your edit your work network location. So here, then you define it. Oops. Azure AD Connect Health. This feature is also a premium feature which helps you monitor and gain insight into health, performance and login activity of your on-prem AD infrastructure. While the current release supports ADFS, Microsoft I know they are working on adding support for sync servers in the future. So this ADFS release has 3 key capabilities: alerts based on events, configuration information, synthetic transactions, and performance data. So when something goes wrong or is about to go wrong, it will let you know. 2, graphs of login activity that you can pivot multiple ways for easy viewing. These usage insights, as they are called, are accessible when you enable auditing on your ADFS service. They are based on audits generated when users log in and tokens are generated for applications. 3, access to key performance indicators across multiple servers, including token request counters, processor, memory, latency, and so forth. Getting this functionality requires downloading and installing an agent on each of your ADFS servers. The Azure AD Connect Health service processes data the agent sends to the cloud, displaying alerts and other views into the ADFS service. Microsoft supports ADFS 2.0 on Windows Server 2008, 2008 R2, as well as ADFS in Windows Server 2012 and 2012 R2. The agents are supported on ADFS proxies as well as web application proxy servers. So the alerts, as you see on the screen, shows you the list of active alerts require admin attention, which are based on ADFS service events, performance counters, and configuration information. So this could be issues with certificates, connectivity to domain controllers, or simply as detecting that the ADFS service is not running. They can also warn of potential issues. Selecting an alert reveals more detailed information, as well as resolution steps and links to relevant documentation. You can also view historical data on previously resolved alerts. So this would be the detailed part of it. We also have the usage analytics. Usage analytics provide insight to login activity based on security audits that each of the ADFS service generates and sends to the Azure AD Connect Health for analysis. Currently, Microsoft supports two views: successful logins, which can be viewed by application, network location, authentication method, or server, or they can use unique user count, which shows the number of unique users accessing applications and can be viewed by application, which is relying party trust. Performance data. This is a simple aggregated view of key performance counters collected from your ADFS and proxy servers, including token requests, CPU, memory, and latency. It can also help you detect potential balancing issues within your environment. The secondary picture, the filter option has been used, which is on the top of the page. You can view individual service metrics. To change metrics, simply right-click the monitoring chart and the monitoring blade and select Edit Chart. And you can select additional metrics and specify time range for viewing the performance data. And there are a lot of things you can do there, and they continuously add more and more things to monitor as well. So for Azure AD Connect Health and what's been publicly written on internet by Microsoft is they will add email notification of alerts. They will add support for monitoring and reporting on sync servers. They will also do something called failure trending and reports for the ADFS service. And they also will add health and reporting of Azure AD services such as SaaS applications, MFA, and password reset. Now, just a quick question. Have everybody seen the portal interface towards Azure Active Directory? Just type it in the chat. Okay, then I'm going to show you. I got 10 minutes, so I'm actually going to be on time today. Yippee! So, here we have, oh, what did I do now? What did I try? Here, I'm logged into the portal. I see Active Directory. I have 3 active Azure Active Directories running. We're going to look at Jimmy IAM. IAM is Identity and Access Management. I have a bunch of users in here. I can see if I have some groups. I also have to tell you my account or my Azure Active Directory tenant is about to expire, so I'm running on minimum feature availability right here. So I can add my groups. I see which kind of applications I have to give to my users. The domains within Jimmy IAM is actually a custom name which I own, but my on Microsoft.com account is QDevice AB. So this is what I signed up for, and this is what I then added to it. Here I can control the directory integration if I want to do dir sync or not, and so forth. So other things, I have the user password reset policy. I don't have it enabled here. My language preference, I have enabled notification anonymous sign-ins, and so on. So I have multi-factor authentication, which I haven't enabled because I can't. Device registration that I talked about. Group management, so I can delegate the dimensional group, application proxy, integrated applications, and kind of user access, and so on and so forth. I also have some standard reports, and since I'm not using this, the report will show 0.
but I had sign-ins from unknown sources, sign-ins from multiple failures, sign-ins from multiple geographies. So basically, if I log in from Sweden within an hour, I log in from South America. Yeah, it's kind of really hard to get from Sweden to South America in an hour, so that will be logged as something not normal. I also have the licensing page, and what I've done here, because I think this is an easier way of managing my Office 365 account, so I connected my Azure AD to my Office 365. So username, I'm gonna just add an account. Normal users, since I haven't configured multi-factor, and it takes some time, get temporary password, send password and email to admin@gmail.com, and they will have MimiPig. I can put in an alternate email address. I can, allow or block it to sign in. User's location. Let's do Sweden. Source from Active Directory. Save. I can also put in some work information. If I have multi-factor, information about the devices, and of course she hasn't signed in yet. I can see activity, there's nothing. If I go to my Office 365, I don't have Mimi here yet. See how fast it is. And here I have Mimi. So I need to sign a license. Let's do 365 Premium, save, see if I can do that. And you see now once you got the license, the Office 365 is preparing a mailbox for this user. So from a multi-tenant point of view, I rather have one single interface. So I have, this is GMIM WAD, and this is not live anymore, but Wilma was another Office 365 directory, so I can do all my tenants from Azure AD the portal, and to control these ones. Let's see if it's not done yet. I don't know, it sometimes takes some time to prepare the mailbox, but it will be there. Yeah, let's do that. So when you want to add a directory, you go into New Directory, Custom Create. You give it a name. Now I don't have a name that is available, I guess. It's not unique. So here you go, and you that picture I showed you before. You tell the region you're in, and then it will be added. Come on. You see this Exchange stuff. Oh, she has a primary email now. So now she's an Office 365 user that I actually created in Azure Active Directory. And by that, I'm actually finished for today. And do you have any questions? Okay, no questions. Thank you very much. And Lasse is on about half an hour. And remember, there's a different URL to that meeting. Well, thank you so much, and goodbye.